What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react to something kind of scandalous that the Prime Minister of Canada said to an American. Or at least that's what I've been led to believe here. Apparently, Mark Carney recently announced a plan to restore 24 Sussex Drive, which is the official residence of Canada's Prime Minister. Okay. Ah, interesting. Restore. Isn't that kind of like a some kind of a conflict of interest? He wants to restore his house. I guess it's every prime minister's residence. It's kind of like the White House, and now we're building a huge ballroom with taxpayer money, with my money. That should be called Tyler's Ballroom. Um, or like I think this is normal in a lot of countries. Like in the UK, the prime minister has that apartment or with the cat. Anyway, um, apparently Mark Carney then had some very choice words for an American reporter who was there during this announcement, asking questions about this plan. So, as an American, I'm actually very, very curious to see what he had to say. So let's take a look.
In Austin, the New York Times. What message do you have for hospitals, universities, medical charities in general, about why the government thinks it's necessary to compete against them for donations for this project?
What? So this is a New York Times reporter? Hold on.
For hospitals.
Hold on. I want to hear this one more time. This question? I don't like this question very much, to be perfectly honest.
In Austin, the New York Times. What message do you have for hospitals, universities, medical charities in general, about why the government thinks it's necessary to compete against them for donations for this project?
Okay, even, at the beginning, I was even ripping on this a little bit, but in a joking way, like, ah ha ha. He's announcing a plan to restore the residence of the prime minister, which it's not like I was only joking, really. Like, obviously, it's an important, historical Canadian like heritage site, I'm sure, or something like that. It's much bigger than just Mark Carney. And it's like, even if you don't think this is the most important thing in the world, it's not the most important thing in the world, or probably, in Canada. And I'm sure, like, anyone would be willing to admit that, but it's like, that doesn't mean you can't do nice little things like this. Like, come on. Like, with that logic, it's like, why do any of us ever spend a single dollar on ourselves getting a new TV or a car or clothing or going out to eat when all of that money we could be donating that to end world hunger or something? Yeah, like at a certain point, it's like you got to make room for these other like little initiatives and projects, and even if they're not the most important thing in the world. So I don't know about this question. Seems just like intentionally sort of in bad faith to just like start like to be a gotcha. And it's interesting because this is an American reporter, like in Canada, sort of trolling in my opinion, being like, well, what do you think that you could be giving this money to like hospitals and other, like, you could say that about so many things. Like, why are we picking on the restoring the Sussex Drive that I don't know. I'm curious what Mark Carney has to say about this.
Look, a country, we have to do many things.
Wow. That's actually kind of interesting. seeing his reaction, because I do think this question caught him off guard. Because there's like a grain of truth to it, right? Or it's like, is this strictly, absolutely necessary for Canada's survival? To refurbish or restore the Canadian Prime Minister's official residence? Or no, it's not strictly necessary, but that doesn't mean that's not the criteria to do anything. Like, but it clearly kind of caught him off guard because there's a grain of truth to it. And then Mark Carney kind of stumbled for a second, then kind of locked in here. Look at this.
I, we have to do many things at the same time. We have to build physical infrastructure as a country. We have to reinforce our defense, reassert our sovereignty in the Arctic. We have to invest in medical technologies, which we will be doing. We need to invest in our people, social services. As individuals, the same holds. Decisions in terms of supporting the arts, supporting humanitarian causes around the world.
I think this is a very roundabout way of saying, like, listen up, New York Times American reporter. I'm going to revoke your passport. That's what he wants to say. No, he's basically saying, like, in a roundabout way, we invest money in lots of different things, lots of projects. There's lots of things that are important, some more important than others. And this, falls somewhere on that spectrum. Get over it. We're doing it. Like, they're asking for donations as well. So maybe it's not even coming out of like the federal Canadian budget. Maybe it's just, if Canadian citizens want to donate to this, you can choose to, or you can choose not to, which I actually like that more than like in the United States. I was joking about the White House, how Trump is like renovating the White House, literally tearing down walls, building a ballroom, holding UFC fights, literally. That's, we're not all donating to that. He's just taking it out of the taxpayer money, out of the federal budget. But so, if you're gonna do stuff like this, at least like I kind of like how Canada's doing it.
Supporting direct charity in your community, and individuals make those decisions, and we very much respect. This is a response. The structure here is a response to incoming interest in supporting this project. Okay.
Okay. I don't know why the video is breaking up a little bit, but he's basically saying there's people like outside of the Canadian government who support this and have an interest in this, and it's like going to be funded by donations if people want this to happen. I guess that's also his argument.
Response to incoming interest in supporting this project. Okay. It is a response, and Ian, I know you're from the New York Times, and I'm going to message for Americans. Okay, you can.
Whoa! Oh, feel like he's talking to me right now, Mark Carney. Okay, you have a this New York Times reporter guy is really triggering him. I can tell, because Mark Carney, like, I've seen quite a few different video clips of him. He's typically extremely composed, extremely well spoken, and in true Canadian fashion, extremely nice and cordial. I feel like I can tell he's a little pissed at this reporter, especially being an American reporter with the audacity to come to Canada and to the leader of Canada and be like, I don't know if I agree with how Canada is spending its money. And my opinion matters for some reason as a random American reporter. Did I mention I'm from the New York Times? I'm very important. And like just the audacity to come at the Canadian Prime Minister with this question of like, have you thought about how you're allocating your funds? And now, don't get me wrong, that's a perfectly legitimate question for Canadians to ask their leader. That is not the place for Americans to question the leader of Canada, how you guys are spending your money or your projects and stuff. Like that's kind of stepping out of line here.
Brass this message out. Canadians believe in Canada. Canadians are getting behind this country. Canadians are making decisions with where they travel, where they purchase, who they support, the institutions they support. They're coming together and supporting our country. And we are building this home of the Prime Minister of a G7 country for centuries. That's what we're doing today.
If that
Oh, wow. He kind of felt like letting loose there, didn't he? I want to hold on. That was kind of like Mark Carney just letting loose.
It is a response, and Ian, I know you're from the New York Times, and I'm going to message for Americans. Okay, you can brass this message out. Canadians believe in Canada. Canadians are getting behind this country. Canadians are making decisions with where they travel, where they purchase, who they support, the institutions they support. They're coming together and supporting our country.
Okay.
And we are building this home of the Prime Minister of a G7 country for centuries. That's what we're doing today.
if that
Yeah. It's very clear Mark Carney is in no uncertain terms saying to this guy, Canadians are gonna decide what we're gonna do here. We're gonna make the decisions about what we spend money on, what we think is smart to do, what we think is stupid to do. And I'm sure on some level in Mark Carney's brain, he's probably thinking like, and we're certainly not going to take any example by the United States. We're not going to take advice from you, of all countries, just sort of looking at the situation that we have put ourselves in here in the US, and really a lot of the decline that's been happening. Very disturbing, honestly, from an American's point of view. But yeah, I'm sure Mark Carney is like, get out of here with that. Like, I don't want to hear it. Like, thank you, but Canadians will decide all that stuff. And it sounds like he's pretty adamant that this is it like a renovation or upgrade to the Prime Minister's residence. He's I know it kind of looks bad on him because he directly benefits from this, whatever this they're doing to his house. But like he said, it's like it's a historical place, and it's for every prime minister after him, not just for him. And like, I have a bigger problem with like the upgrades that Donald Trump does to where he lives, because I don't really like him. You know, to be totally honest, I think a lot of Americans are not happy with him. So we don't have the patience for him to upgrade his little ballroom or whatever to throw his dinner parties. Mark Carney, I think he has pretty good approval in Canada, pretty popular. So I'm sure like most Canadians are probably like, sure, you know what? If he wants to upgrade, renovate the little prime minister's house, or fine, you know, as long as Canada is headed in a good direction. At least that's how I would think. I'm assuming here as an American. Again, I'm assuming, but so anyway, that's interesting. It's really just interesting hearing Mark Carney like in this kind of mode, like a little pissed off, but remaining like cordial and a leader, and in the nicest way possible, saying "f off." Just stop. I hear your question, and I don't care for it or for what you're saying. And frankly, it's not your place. That's basically what he's saying, and I would tend to basically agree with that. So that was actually more dramatic and more interesting than I thought. So yeah, this because I wasn't quite sure what to expect. So this American kind of embarrassed us a little bit there. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment, especially if you're Canadian. You know, your thoughts on this, that'd be really valuable because, again, I'm kind of assuming some things here about how Canadians would feel towards this situation, and that's an assumption, I'll admit. So that'd be cool to hear what Canadians think about all this. And If you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canadian things that I've never seen before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.